It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we move into a Tuesday. Gary, how are you? How was your weekend?
Good. Yeah, had fun. Florida was good.
How are
hot?
Mary and Jerry?
Jerry, Mary, and Gary were great.
Are you guys looking for a Larry and a Perry so we can just make this thing really roll?
No.
No?
No, we're not.
All right. I know some if you need some.
But we had a great time.
All right.
It's amazing because it's just Friday through Sunday, and it seems like it's about a week for me. And
it does. It was really long. My wife and I on Friday slept a few hours in the morning when I got home, and then we stayed up till like midnight. We were running around. We went and saw our parents all day Saturday. We ran around all day Sunday and even did a little bit of running around on Memorial Day. So it felt like a week's vacation. I mean, it was really full. It was really good.
Well, I realize they're living the Del Boca Vista lifestyle now.
Yeah, Jerry and Mary.
Jerry and Mary, yeah.
Right.
Saturday they were up by 10 and asleep by 9, and we had dinner before 4.
I'm sorry, asleep by 9 p.m., not 9 a.m. They didn't stay up all night till 9 a.m.
9 p.m.
9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Are they okay?
Yes. That's what happens when you live in Florida and you live the Del Boca Vista lifestyle.
Yeah. Well,
which is, by the way, that's a retirement home from Seinfeld. If people don't know, they don't live in a retirement home. They have
right.
I'm just
we're kind of right there with them. Normally, this weekend we had a lot to do, but we were up. Even though Friday night we were up fairly late. Got up though at 5 a.m. on Saturday because we had to go see our folks, and it's a couple hours away. Barb's mom is even further, and so she drops me off at my folks, and then and drives on about another hour, and comes back. And there is it's if you don't get up at 5 a.m., we just realize because a lot of times we'll sleep in. Sleeping in for us is 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday. That's sleeping in, right? So roughly, sometimes 8. That's really late, though. 8 a.m. is late. If I wake up and look at my clock on the weekend, it's 8 a.m. I feel like I've blown half of my day. But typically, we'll be asleep fairly early on a Friday and Saturday evening. I mean, we'll put on some YouTube, and by 9:15, we're done. And that's good. So how's Florida? Did you get a chocolate beer?
No, the chocolate beer, the chocolate coconut beer apparently is more of a winter beer.
Yeah, all right.
So, and I think the one time I had it, I was there in January.
Yeah,
that's when
okay.
That's
all right.
That's when I had it. But
right.
I did have another tasty beer. It had like strawberry vanilla. It wasn't like it's like a dessert. It's not even a beer.
Wow.
It's like strawberry vanilla coconut. And it's like this is a beer.
Right.
They called Chad at Two Frogs at the brewery a mad scientist.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, here.
Well, that's good. You know what? If you're gonna do that, in the microbreweries and in those individual breweries, you really should get out there and kind of experiment and come up with a lot of crazy things, because a lot of those things I know nothing about them. My son does. He was in that business and in the restaurant industry for a while. And knows he can tell you everything. He's really smart about that. I know what I like in terms of taste. I don't drink, but if I taste one of those beers and I know the kind of beer I like. But if you're talking about making your own brand, you have these little things on your menu that would kind of stand out. Chocolate or strawberry vanilla. That's going to stand out.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Yeah.
And so, but we really had a blast. It was just
Good.
Ate too much though, as always happens. It's not my normal boring diet that I have at home. But we had some great conversations. I tell you, the one thing that got me was just the focus over the weekend. Just just politically, because this is one where I just went, come on, stop it. And it just seemed to be more analysis on it over the weekend. And you and I started talking about it when we both came in. The Democrats spending $20 million to figure out how to communicate with men. That to me is just the best, because it was, the analysis of it. Well, how do you talk to men? And then you and I thought, have Democrats defined what a man is?
Yeah, we've been focused on define a woman.
Yes.
But clearly they can.
Right.
I mean, it's obvious that they have the ability to do that because they picked Tim Walz as Kamala Harris's running mate.
And Tim Walz said the reason he was picked was because he could talk football and hunting in his own masculine way.
Right.
And then when he lost, he said, the problem is Republicans and independents, don't relate to his, what do you say, new form of masculinity or unique form of masculinity. So you look at it and you say, I can understand, because if Democrats believe that the way that you communicate to men is the jazz hands,
right.
The man hands. I'm thinking Seinfeld again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, different episode.
The jazz hands.
Yeah.
Hello. All right. Let me imitate. I got mind blank. The guy did the exercises.
Richard Simmons.
Richard Simmons. If he believes that imitating Richard Simmons is how you politically communicate with men.
Right.
Well, I'm going to have to say you may need a little bit more than $20 million.
Well, and interestingly enough, when the story came out over the weekend about, Democrats needing to spend or planning to spend tens of millions of dollars to find out how to communicate to men, there was a response that was the media was waiting for from Tim Walz's office, and they said that he was busy in hot yoga class and couldn't respond at the moment. So the thing is that it shows you how contrived it is, the whole identity politics. Think about that. I know the breakdown of demographics, right? We know that. All right, look, in those demographics, you have to know exactly what each of them want. But for them, it's only about the identity. And, when we think about any demographic, well, how about you push policies that are good for all? How about you go in with very good broad policies? Oh, wait, it's the Democrats. And you're back to square one. Saw the story about Rahm Emanuel, hinting at a run presidential run, and that he's talking, the brand, the Democratic brand, the party brand is weak. Well, you were part of that. You were chief of staff for Barack Obama, and then the king of Chicago for a while. You know exactly why this happened. I can't believe they let it go that far. You drove it that far. You helped. I would say Rahm Emanuel, you could certainly put him up there as one of the architects of modern democratic politics, Democratic Party politics. And I don't know where you think you're going to go. I don't know where Rahm Emanuel thinks he's going to go, because the radicals control the party. They don't want to change anything. You may think, well, this went too far, but actually you were part of building that monster. What did you think it was going to do? And
I think the Democratic Party, and this is the voter, from what I can see, I don't think they want to change this is the voter, not the party, because I now believe that what's left of the Democratic Party voter mirrors exactly the most radical portions of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
When you hear, for example, And by the way, we'll get to what actually they said about the $20 million to win back young men and what it's officially called and everything else here in just a little bit. But when you look at it, when David Hogg came out and said, Jasmine Crockett, that's what we need. That's what they believe.
No, it is, yeah.
That's what they believe. Jasmine Crockett is polling higher than Schumer.
Yep.
What they believe is their message is correct. The insanity of their identity politics, the misogyny of the radical transgender movement, the border, open borders, supporting criminals. They believe that what's left of the Democratic Party believes they just have to repackage it. It's not where they stand on the issues because it's very simple. We all know why the Democrats lost. They suck on the issues.
Right.
If you don't admit that, Carville gets close to it, but then somebody needs to check his cognitive abilities because there's no consistency in his message. We have to stop with the identity politics. AOC would be a great president.
Right.
I mean, it's just like,
exactly.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Do you even remember what you said yesterday?
I mean, I think it really is a further indication that the party is stuck in this radical mode and is not going to change. That you can look at it and go, I can't believe all this is happening, and or in the case of James Carville's case, what the hell is going on? It's that's one because it is crazy, but again, he's another one of those architects that helped build it and push it this way and is still promoting that direction if you're saying you'll vote for AOC.
Yeah.
What? What are you thinking? Well, you're thinking this is what will win. That's the strategist in him. He believes she can win. He believes AOC can win. And everything is so crazy right now. I'm not going to say she can't. If she does, we're all
people,
doomed.
Right? We're the American people right now.
Exactly. Texas is going to get very crowded if she wins. But that's what's driving the prediction. What they say that for our town, for the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's going to be what they say. What year was it? It's going to balloon to 75 million people.
No, they said 35 million by 2100.
All right, 35 million. All right,
30 North Texas.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just our area.
Just North Texas. Yeah. Texas in that extrapolating out of where population growth is going to go would be 100 million for Texas in 75 years.
Right. The cows in West Texas are going to have to move over. They're going to have to make room.
Well, maybe not. It might not be that. It might not be that crowded.
Well, they have 200-story apartment buildings in Austin.
Well, yeah, that's another story. We'll get to because we're talking about some of the air traffic controllers and the airports that are having problems, and think about it, it's Newark and it's Austin. Austin's been having trouble.
Yeah.
With it. Oh, no trouble.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Everything was fine.
Right.
Every flight was early. The flight, it was the Sunday 5 o'clock flight out of Tampa, and so there were like 60 seats on that plane, which it is a dead day, the Sunday. Monday, Monday picks up drastically. But, there was no seats on the way out. But I was amazed because you can check it. You can see on the standby, if you got the app, how many seats are left. And I think they had 63 seats, and I think maybe 5 standby people. So that's a lot of seats to have in a plane.
Yeah.
That are open. But other than that, it was a great. Everything was smooth over the weekend. It was a lot of fun, and kept checking the news. But I was like, okay, it's not. The same old stuff is out there and rehashing the same old stuff, which we'll do, but it wasn't really. I'm trying to think of it, the Harvard stuff going back and forth, Trump commenting on on Putin. Where we go with Iran now, the U.S. steel deal. That was really interesting because nobody knows what's in that deal.
Right. That Trump saying the U.S. will control it.
Yeah. And it's like, and then all the news organizations went to the administration and Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel, and nobody will comment. And Wall Street Journal said they're trying to figure out, what the president's deal is that he is talking about. They don't even know what it is.
Right.
And they're the parties that he announced has a deal.
Right.
Don't know whether the Wall Street Journal is right or whether they're wrong, like they were a couple of weeks ago. But I couldn't find any article where anybody could tell you how the U.S. remains in control of that deal with the same money involved.
Right.
Nobody could explain it.
Right.
The White House couldn't explain it.
Right.
The Japanese steelmaker couldn't explain it. U.S. Steel couldn't explain it. Nobody could explain it over the weekend. That story just went, and then it just sat there over the weekend. Nobody commented. We'll see if we get any clarification on it this week, but that was really interesting. Trump delaying the EU tariffs, not a surprise at all.
No.
The administration's, at this point, trying to find a way, image-wise, to keep the tariffs out there but not have it affect the economy as much as it would.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it looks like, I don't know this, but it looks like we'll end up at, a 10% baseline, and then you get your political, victory parade by saying we do have greater tariffs, and, but at the same time, it doesn't negatively affect the economy in a big way. And, I guess if you call that a win, okay.
What's the goal? Is the goal tariffs?
Exactly. Well, is it protectionism?
Well, is the goal tariffs, or has the goal all along been equal trade between all countries?
Right.
If that's your goal, minimum tariffs don't get you there.
Exactly.
866-98 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. When it comes to truck maintenance, sometimes it's the little things that can cause the most trouble, like cabin air filters. When properly serviced, cabin air filters provide a barrier between pollutants and harmful particles outside and your HVAC system. If you don't pay attention to them, however, this small part can turn into big trouble in no time. Breathe easy when you know which warning signs could indicate that your cabin air filters are clogged. A dirty, musty smell throughout the entire cab may indicate your cabin air filters are oversaturated and need to be replaced.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Interesting, the story we'll get to, the big budget bill with a tremendous personality.
With potential.
With potential to be beautiful. It's just interesting that, the headline, Trump tells Senate GOP to make changes. Whatever changes they want, make the changes. It's like, what are we going to end up with? But we'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. What was the other one that I wanted to get to? Hillary Clinton again speaking. And I'm trying to think, what was the other story that I saw that was Trump and Putin.
Yeah.
What's going to happen there? Thinking of sanctions. I'll say it when Trump, said, he just can't believe where Putin is going. A lot of people went, and we understand the negotiating there. And as I've said, when it comes to foreign policy, I'll give Trump the benefit of the doubt. But it did sound a little naive. It's like, have you paid attention to Putin?
Yeah, right.
The last 40 years?
Yeah, do you know who he is?
You know who he is? I mean, it was sort of like, I'm just shocked at this. He doesn't want peace?
Right,
it's like,
yeah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so let's go through how the story is written here. According to the New York Times, top Democrat donors have been huddling it up at luxury hotels since the 2024 election in an effort to turn the tide on young men. Democratic donors and strategists have been gathering at luxury hotels to discuss how to win back working-class voters, commissioning new projects that can be read like the anthropological studies of people from faraway places. National political correspondent for Breitbart wrote, the Democrats reportedly coded the plan SAM, Speaking with American Men, a Strategic Plan. The prospectus for the one new $20 million effort obtained by the New York Times aims to reverse the erosion of Democratic support among young men, especially online. It is codenamed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a Strategic Plan, and promises investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virility in these spaces, end of quote. The plan even reportedly goes so far to recommend that Democrats start buying advertisements in video games, among other things.
Oh.
The report follows the Democratic National Committee's moving to oust a young liberal man, David Hogg, as vice chair of the party, even though he was appointed specifically to bring young men back into the fold.
Yeah.
They're completely clueless.
They're
just
and
completely
they're also
clueless.
They're desperate.
Yeah.
It shows you they're just throwing everything out there. First of all, guys don't want to talk. Speaking with American Men, Brian Regan does a whole bit on it. And it's like you go play golf with your buddies, and then you get home, and then the wife's like, "What, did you talk to Larry?" Yeah. Well, what did he say about, that thing between he and his wife? I don't know. We were playing golf.
Oh, you mean the golf bit about he broke up with his wife or whatever, and it's like, well, did you talk to him?
No.
What happened? No. You didn't talk about it.
Is he okay? I don't know. Yep.
So,
he does a whole bit on it.
You didn't talk to him about anything? I know he's got a new driver.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, there. What would you say? The fact that it has a code name. Are we adults here? Speaking with American Men. Hi, my name's Bob with the organization Speaking with American Men. I mean, I know it's just the code name, but they're going to have to, we're part of the Democratic Party. They're going to have to, talk to men and tell them why they're talking to. Somebody comes to my door or calls me. First of all, good luck. I probably won't answer the door. My security camera is going to tell me whether or not I should be answering that door. And unless you're wearing a first responder's uniform or look like one of my neighbors, I doubt I'm going to answer it. And beyond that, you've got to get into the weeds on, what do you think? As a man, what can we do better?
Remember White Dudes for Harris?
Oh, yeah. And all the diversity of whiteness on that video thing. Look at all the different shades of white. Did somebody just say, look at all the different shades of white?
Yes, they did. They did. I remember that. Remember?
Oh, my
You were like,
gosh.
look at all the diversity, all the different shades. It's like, well, that's really breaking it down.
Wow.
Now, that's really breaking down the diversity of whiteness.
Well, it's again, it's perfect to demonstrate who they are on identity politics. Look at this very diverse group of white people. Men. Oh, my gosh. It was, did the Trump campaign have to go out and say, listen, we're going to have to reach out to guys because we don't know how to talk to them? What politically, it's always been, these are the ideas we want to implement as policy. Vote for us. Everybody benefits. I know about the demographics in American politics. It's, you break it down and it's like, okay, you do polls. You're going to do polls as to what each of those breakdowns, what each of those demographics is concerned about. Speaking with American men, the SAM program is going to get you nowhere. And the reason is because tell me what you would change if all of the, conversations came back with the same information. Would it bring about change in the Democratic Party? They're not going to change. Rahm Emanuel's not going to do anything different if he wants to get elected. I mean, he may try something different. But if you want to win, you got to be a radical. You need to be in line, and you need to be chanting whatever the chant is today, whatever the protest is about today. You need to be out there, and you need to be leading it.
Well, when you see the first thing they talk about, we need to figure out what type of syntax. Which is, again, as we know, the order of words, basic sentence structure that will apply, that will get men to listen to us. They're not saying we need to talk about what young men care about.
We need to mimic talking like them.
Yes.
We need to pretend like we know how to talk to them.
Which means what? Their solution is we need more identity politics.
Yeah.
We need to break it down. Yeah. We need to think about this. We need to find and tell the white men out there. The white. Okay, I'm sorry, I meant the white men for Harris. Well, we have to break down men into other classifications to find. Now, this is going to be running a fine line to find the men that are victims. And position them. You need to vote for us as men because these other men, because women can't be victims, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, unless you're playing sports. But they don't consider you a victim. You're an oppressor at that point.
Yeah.
Think about this. To the Democrats, if you're a woman wanting to play sports with just women, you're an oppressor of everybody. And so how do you figure out, since they play the whole, victim oppressor game, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, It's just, it's
okay,
hilarious.
So here's the thing, because we were talking about white men for Kamala. Are they going to take this and whatever this program is, and are they going to break it down into demographics? Because remember, Barack Obama was scolding black men before the election last year. And what do you say?
Oh, these are great memories. You're bringing back things that just make me laugh from the campaign last year.
Yeah.
That was great when he chastised black men.
Well, and then there was a response like, "Who do you think you are? Who do you think you're talking to?" Because what you do is you're proving over and over again you're about nothing but identity politics. You're proving over and over again you have no clue and you have nothing to offer as a party. You have to pretend. Let's learn to pretend how to talk to them. Like they're learning some kind of
code.
Roll in a play or something, or code that's, hey, maybe we can find a real man and he could be our consultant.
I was watching a bunch of different things over the weekend, about because of Memorial Day, World War II, and how they broke the codes and everything else.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking there's going to be like a building like that. And remember the one building they were talking about, this building in Great Britain where they, Americans and the Allies, again, were trying to break codes consistently all throughout World War II.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be the Democrats. They'll be all huddled together trying to break the code, how to talk to men.
Yeah.
What is that code?
Yeah.
What is the syntax that we need to use? What is the accent? Are we using the wrong accent? I'm telling you, they don't get it. They truly believe, they just don't message effectively, that what they believe has nothing to do with why they can't win.
Right. And it's again, they're focused on the wrong thing. They're focused like they have been for a long time. It makes me wonder where their confidence is. Are they losing confidence in their ability to indoctrinate? You think about what's going on with university campuses. You think about how a number of universities are not seeing the enrollment that they saw before, and they're having to cut budgets and everything else. And it may not be the big prominent universities, but there's been a shift. If the indoctrination plan is failing, if they believe it is, again, what do they see? Do they recognize? I think it's not gone, but I think it's diminished greatly, both in grade school and in colleges. They've lost their ability to own the room. For the longest time, they thought, during the Obama years, we're going to control D.C. forever as a party, Democrats. Then they got into social media. The FBI basically had a second headquarters at Twitter at the time. And they were, of course, controlling everything on Facebook. We know that now. They were controlling things that were being posted in 2020 on Facebook and what could be seen. Controlling people's accounts. They thought they were in control forever. And with indoctrination, certainly you believe that. And there are plenty of young radicals that are willing to enroll in those schools. But do they see that they're losing that battle more and more, where the numbers are dwindling and they have fewer of those radicals coming in, or fewer students altogether coming in, and that's their stronghold. Indoctrination is their stronghold. It's how they shape the hearts and minds of kids from the earliest of ages on through college, and then spit them out into the world to be radicals. And are they concerned? I think they should be.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I was just searching for one of the White Men for Harris ads.
Yeah.
And I found the one with Will Ferrell, and I forgot about this.
Oh, yeah.
We did not edit this at all.
No.
All right? This is it. You ready? Here we go. All right? Now, they do blank out the F word. Here we go, though.
All right.
This election is going to be one of the closest in history. Your vote will make the difference. That means you, Gary. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm just one person. No. Shut the up, Gary. Last time, only a few thousand votes kept Trump out of office. And this time, we will hold you personally responsible, Gary. Don't forget to vote, Gary.
Yeah, Gary. That's funny. I love that.
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
I think we asked
What
it
does
back
that
then.
mean? What does that mean?
Why use the name Gary?
Yeah.
What was the...
Where did that come from?
What's the point of it?
I know.
And that was all part of white men for Harris.
Right. I love that. We have no idea why they chose that name. Other than
attacking me, right?
Yeah, well, I paid them $10. I didn't think they were going to do it. They just chose Gary, just like out of the blue.
I know.
I mean, I don't know. I guess John is the most common name. But Gary works.
Will Ferrell at his worst.
Exactly.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here. Just during the top of the hour, I found a couple of audio cuts, one from Fox News, from a Republican strategist, and a Democrat strategist on MSNBC. Both saying the exact same thing about the Democrats launching a 20 million study to understand American men. And putting the first word in there that they did, well, first off, we need to understand the syntax of men out there, especially younger men. Mm-hmm. Here is a Republican consultant on Fox News over the weekend.
Yeah, that very idea of going to YouTube, that's where people are getting their information. That was new. Democrats saw that same data and ignored it. You also saw the now famous proposal that the Trump team did with going on Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, not traditional Republicans, but they went in there because they saw that audience they had tremendous opportunity with. But the difference is, to your point, a syntax study isn't going to do it. Authenticity is. And that's what's missing from the Democrat Party today. Doing a TikTok dance or inserting some four-letter words into your tweets, not going to get you there if people aren't buying your message and buying your messengers.
Cassie Smedil there, who was a Republican strategist. Now we go to MSNBC. All right?
Okay.
It's really the same thing.
Wow.
There's no difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, good questions. One, let me save the folks from the Times and all the other great, print outlets some time. If you dig in on what Democrats are researching right now, you're going to find a lot of silly stuff. You're going to find people asking a lot of questions, people asking about syntax and do I drop the G from this word and this and that, and it's going to be a lot of that. So let me just warn everybody, that process is going to be very obnoxious for this 40-something. I would also say, we're really talking about young men, right? Young men who Democrats have not figured out a consistent pitch for how to get in front of. And I think it starts with authenticity. Yeah.
There you go. Exact same word. Joel Payne, Democratic strategist there on MSNBC. So it's the exact same advice from Republicans, strategists, and Democrat strategists.
Well,
exact same thing.
Look, nothing applies to all. But part of their strategy here is to put ads in video games. By the way, I don't play video games. I didn't know they have ads. I didn't know they had ads. I guess, I don't know. I guess if you're playing the free version, I don't know how it works.
My last video game was Space Invaders.
Yeah, I was going to say Galaga.
Okay, so yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah, I found one that
79.
I found one on a TV app, on a smart TV app that you could play, and you have to use the TV remote control. Not the same. No, not the same. No, it's so, but what does that tell you about the target audience? They spend a lot of time playing video games. So what are you going to promise them? Jobs? They don't want that. I mean, it's and then what are you going to lower rent? They can't get lower rent than mom and dad. What are you going to promise them anymore? You know, it used to be the Democrats could go out and say, hey, listen, we're going to take care of you. We're gonna have this program. We got this money for you. We got a $5,000 Doge check coming to you. Oh, wait, that wasn't Democrats. We can send you, we'll take care of your entire life cycle. You don't have to worry about a thing. And now, you know, with the era of living at mom and dad's, and, you know, keep in mind, we have millions of able-bodied men on Medicaid. I'm guessing a few of them play video games.
Yeah,
and so in
Republicans can't solve that.
Well, but I talked to another family member over the weekend who has a neighbor whose 19-year-old son doesn't drive, doesn't want to learn to drive, doesn't have any interest, says he will probably never have any interest. And his dad, they live in a small town. His dad takes him to his part-time job. Now, he learned something. He did some trade school in high school, and he learned how to weld. He knows how to do some things. He's okay. He doesn't want to learn how to drive, doesn't really have this ambition to go out. At 19, are you kidding me? You and I always talk about what motivated us. I didn't care where I lived. I just wanted my independence.
Well, at 19, if I didn't drive, how do I pick up my alcohol and drugs?
Well, exactly. Well, if I didn't have a car, where was I going to live? I lived in my car.
You did. That's right.
Months.
You did.
So, I mean, that was my home. The thing is that, you know, there was this drive for the independence. You wanted your money so that you could have your independence. Well, you know, again, nothing applies to all. It's not all of young men right now, but there's a pretty significant chunk of them that aren't motivated the way we were motivated. I talked to you about one family member who told me, Dad, it's shocking, and she's 40-ish. And she said, you know, as my oldest daughter, she goes, Dad, it's shocking how many young men in my age group, that's 40, roughly, don't own a car, don't care to own a car. They don't own anything. It's like all their ambition. They're like stuck in the age of 13, you know, when, just going to hang out and I've got, you know, mom's cooking for me or whatever. How politically, what are you going to say to that part of that group? Now, 40 isn't I wouldn't consider a young man, but there are many in that demographic that the Democrats are looking to target that don't have any ambition. What are you going to tell them? How are you going to change that attitude?
And the philosophy for life that is about driving a car, and we'll talk specifically because we're talking young men here, because that's what the Democratic Party is looking for. It's not materialism.
Yeah. Right.
We didn't want to drive because of materialism.
Right.
We didn't want a car because it's something materialistic.
Right.
It is, but that wasn't what drove us. What drove us was autonomy and freedom. And the car gave us the ability to do a bunch of different things and reach a bunch of different goals that we wish to reach. And it also gave us the instant opportunity to do what we wanted at the instant that we wanted to do that,
right.
Which is being more productive. The whole goal was more productivity in your life. You know, you and I look at, for example, at smartphones,
mm-hmm.
and smartphones can be used to play games all day
mm-hmm.
and not be productive.
Mm-hmm.
There's no problem with smartphones. Smartphones are the most wonderful thing to make your life absolutely more productive than you've ever been able to do in the history of the world.
Right.
It has that effect. It has the other effect. I don't care about that. I just want to play my video games or do whatever. And so when you look at it, that always, to me, and again, I don't know how sociologists look at it, but what is going on in a society where men don't wish to have a car? Again, not talking about young people in general, because we're talking about specifically the Democrats looking for men and how to talk for men. And for both the Republican strategist and the Democratic strategist, I think they were both wrong when they said what the Democratic Party needs is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Authenticity means being genuine or real. Well, they are.
Right.
It's what they believe.
Right. Right.
But them being genuine, them being authentic they're weird.
Well, that's the other thing too. So the other side of that group of young men are the ones who are working, the ones who do have an ambition, the ones that are out there living their life and doing the things they want to do. They're kind of moving on. But are they more prone to listen to the Democratic Party, or are they more of I won't say conservative, but kind of a libertarian, independent mindset? And the reason I say that is because I have I have 6 lovely granddaughters. The oldest 3 have boyfriends, and they're all doing, very well. College, one's studying law. Another one is I think he's also studying law. Another one is a photographer. They're just very smart, ambitious young people, right? So what do you say to those people? Those young men? And I haven't talked to them about politics at all. They know what I do for a living. They're around a lot. I know them. They know me. But we don't get into the voting thing. I just assume they're liberals and they're voting liberal. I don't even know. I know one of them comes from a very, very religious family, and so he might even be voting for Republicans. I don't know. But based on their life, based on who they are, getting to the root of what's demotivating the young men in terms of the Democrats, is it just that your party is weird? Your party is I was going to say, I mean that in the kindest possible way. I don't. It's weird. And being weird is weird.
Well, but
you turn people away by that.
Right.
And young people in general, male and female, look at that and go, yeah, sorry, that's not something I want to be involved in to a large extent. And where it used to be the young people were the core of the Democratic Party voter base.
Well, I think the problem is when you saw the Democrats being authentic, who they really are, that's the turnoff. So
yes.
when you've got Republican strategists and Democrat, now not all of them are, authentic. They're not genuine or real. You look at the change just in the accent. Look at my congressperson, Jasmine Crockett. Boy, did that really get to a bunch of people that I know in Florida that had no idea I lived in Jasmine Crockett's district. That's a conversation for later on. But when I was down there, that really got a lot of fun because they're like, how? How is she from? It was hilarious.
Exactly.
From Texas, but she's not authentic though. Everybody knows that she's fake. Everybody knows she's faking the accent and all that. But when you look at the last election, because that's what they're looking at, and they're looking at Harris, and they're looking at Walz. Well, they were authentic. What you saw was their authentic selves. The problem is not that they were authentic. It's that when you realize, well, this is generally who they are, you're like, get me away from these people.
Yeah.
They're the last people that I want in charge.
Right. And, that's the thing is because, you look at something, and you said something that's key there, and that is they're showing more and more who they really are. When you throw out things back in the day, like hope and change, that's this idealistic, this dream that you're building for, and it's very ambiguous.
BS.
Exactly. It's
BS.
garbage.
BS.
But young people buy a lot of BS that's, again, garbage. Then, when they open it up, here's what's changed since then. Social media. Say what you will about being bombarded, and I don't think it's healthy, bombarded by images and thoughts and everything else. But what it does do is in the mind, they learn to sort what's real and what isn't. They may watch a lot of garbage TikTok videos, but they know what's contrived and what isn't. They know what's fake and what isn't. They know what's genuine and authentic and what isn't. And the Democratic Party now coming out and basically owning it, as we told them to do for years. You need to own your positions. That's a huge turnoff. They're not even trying. They're not even trying to cover it up. They're not even trying to be ambiguous in promoting what they believe. They're going straight to it. Well, sorry, you can't do it. I just don't know how you get young people back, young men back to your party. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just don't know how you do it.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Like the chief financial officer of any company, you have to be concerned about rising costs, especially without increases in revenue. Trying to reduce costs, let alone make sense of them, can be a complicated task. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. A penny saved could be $1,000 earned. Saving just 1 penny per mile over 100,000 miles driven annually will deliver $1,000 to the bottom line at the end of the year. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I know it's a little bit different, but Senator Michael Bennett from Colorado was on CNN with Jake Tapper, and he said, you announced that this month you're going to run for governor of Colorado, a decision you say is driven by your frustration with Congress and, frankly, the Democratic leadership. I just wonder, given your party's record low popularity right now, does the Democratic brand help you or hurt you, even in a purple-blue state like Colorado? He said, I don't think nationally the Democratic Party brand helps very much anyway. I mean, anywhere. If it did, we wouldn't have lost to Trump twice. You know, I know a lot of supporters of mine and friends of mine are furious at Donald Trump. Are furious at the people they think aren't standing up enough to Donald Trump. I am, but I'm also furious that the Democratic Party has lost twice to Trump. Trump could not get appointed to any job in the state of Colorado. He couldn't get hired on, 17th Street, which is our business street here in Denver. But he's been sent to Washington, just goes blah, 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 blah. What doesn't he talk about? Where the Democrats stand on the issues. Mm-hmm. No Democrat will talk about that.
Yeah. By the way, he wouldn't get hired on 17th Street because he would own it. He'd be doing the hiring. It's
a dumb argument.
Well,
it's
their go-to.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He's stupid. He's a traitor. He's an agent of Russia who doesn't really know the leader of Russia very well. Is he still an agent of Russia? I don't know if the Democrats are calling him that after this weekend. But that's really where that's their go-to. Well, yeah, but Trump did. I mean, I know he's the current president, but the issues of their party, the Democratic Party, run really deep. They built this whole thing. It's all on a facade. Climate change, big facade to get more control of industry. It's this big
open borders.
Open borders to build the voter base. Everything that they've done, identity politics, everything that they have done
to fund the police.
It's all based in things that the American people don't believe in.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I saw this yesterday. I just laughed. This is Glenn Greenwald, who wrote, he has an audio cut from Jake Tapper, but it says, Jake Tapper, at the age of 56 and after 30 years in what one may loosely call journalism, pretends to have just woken up and realized what is, in fact, the first axiom of Journalism 101. Politicians and governments lie, and journalists should not blindly believe them. Here it is.
All right.
I saw that and went, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
This is really going to be good. And it is. Here we go.
And I think that we need to be skeptical of everything that we are told by people in power. And I mean, that obviously should be the mantra of being a journalist to begin with. If your mother tells you she loves you, get a second source. Right. But we just need to remember that. Like, politicians lie. White Houses lie. Power is an aphrodisiac. And we just need to all remember that and not take at face value anything that we're told.
Wow. Yeah, what?
We've learned this great lesson from Biden.
We have? We, huh?
Well, I meant...
Yeah, I know. No, I did.
Not me and you.
Yeah, no. That's his position. It's
He's just woken up. I think what I've learned...
Hey, guys, this just in.
So dang funny.
I don't think Biden and his people were being honest with us. Huh? What do you know about that? Have you ever heard of such a thing?
We're tending now to believe that the Biden administration may have lied to us.
You know, I was telling you, Kirby looked like what's his name from Fargo?
John Kirby. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean what's his name?
William H. Macy.
Yeah. When he was at the dealership answering questions.
Well, and so it was
from Fargo.
Yeah. He's being essentially it's the beginning of the interrogation, but they're just asking questions about it. And it's like he would acknowledge things. Oh yeah, no, it's bad. No, we know that it's not. No, it's not good. Oh yeah, no, definitely. Jake Tapper is now turning into William H. Macy during that auto dealership scene, interrogation scene. And oh yeah, no, it's a bad thing when they lie to you. We should all learn from that.
All right,
kidding me?
Here's Jake Tapper on with Piers Morgan. And Piers asked him whether he needs to apologize to the people of the United States for his weak Biden coverage.
All right,
here we go.
But Jake, in your case, do you feel that you owe the American people an apology for slightly dropping the ball with this, and not just to Lara Trump?
I feel
I feel like I owe the American people an acknowledgement that I wish I had covered the story better. That knowing what we know now and looking back on that interview, which I feel tremendous humility about, she was right and I was wrong. I did not see in the moments he was having, I did not see that as cognitive decline.
Oh, yeah.
She did. Our reporting suggests that she was correct. So I feel humility. I've apologized to her. And I feel like, and I think this is something, quite frankly, that other journalists should think about when it comes to other mistakes, because I'm surely not the only American journalist that wishes he or she had covered this better. In legacy media, I should point out, conservative media was on this from the very beginning. And that is, I will try to do better. And that I could roll a bunch of clips of me asking about this issue. And in 2020, I asked President Biden, then Vice President Biden, will you pledge to be transparent about your health? And he said yes, although he was not. And I only got one interview with him as president.
Okay, now he's just filibustering here.
Well,
but
no, he just that's what he's doing. William H. Macy. Oh yeah, here's this. I have to acknowledge that. I was wrong about all of that, and yeah.
And I see a growing consensus mirrors what we have said before. Look, part of writing this book was to give a big CYA to the quote legacy end of quote media.
Yeah.
That they lied to us.
Yeah.
And this was a concerted effort inside there, and then we knew this was going to come bouncing back and hit him, because when we heard he was going to write the book, we're like, what the hell are you talking about? He's writing the book. He's going to profit on both ends, not covering it, and then saying there was a big cover-up. And he's one of the ones that was one of the biggest enablers of the obvious decline in Biden's cognitive state. I didn't see it. Then you need to quit now. You have no observational skills whatsoever to be in the media. I didn't see what other people were seeing then. Did you see it?
Oh yeah, no. Even the conservative media, they got it right. Yeah,
they got it right.
It's this weird mea culpa in order to sell a book. But if you're paying attention and you listen to the conviction during that exchange with Laura Trump, back when he was defending Biden. That's not, I must have missed it because everybody else saw it, but I must have missed it. You saw it. You knew it then. And you had to do anything to keep Trump from winning. Just say that. That I would believe, because that's the truth.
And it's amazing you said that. You didn't see the audio cut I had lined up next.
Nope.
Which is Alex Thompson from Fox News on Fox News Sunday over the weekend. Says that.
Oh.
Here we go.
In the book, you quote a longtime Biden aide basically admitting he shouldn't be running again. They said to you on page 85, he just had to win, and then he could disappear for 4 years. He'd only have to show proof of life every once in a while. His aides could pick up the slack. Who would have been running the White House in a second Biden term?
Well, this person went on to say that when you're voting for a president, you're voting for the aides around him. But these aides were not even Senate-confirmed aides. These are White House aides. These were unelected people. And one of the things that really, I think, comes out in our reporting here is that if you believe, and I think a lot of these people do sincerely believe, that Donald Trump was and is an existential threat to democracy, you can rationalize anything, including sometimes doing undemocratic things, which I think is what this person is talking about.
You know, I was watching over the weekend World War II in color. And it was the story of Saipan, where you had all of those Japanese civilians, over 1,000 of them, jump to their deaths to commit suicide rather than be, surrendering to the American troops that would have saved their lives. They were civilians. Everybody knew they were civilians. and they had interpreters telling them, don't jump, we'll take. But when you look at societies like that, when you look at brainwashing, and you and I've talked about this before, where they're calling Trump a Nazi, they actually believe he's a Nazi. When you repeat a lie over and over and over and over and over again, even in a free society where you have in Japan at that time, you didn't have the resources to know. In other places around the world, the government may be blocking most of the communications from you. If you live in North Korea, you don't know anything except what the government tells you. But even in a free society, this is the thing that I was thinking about, even in a free society, people wanting to believe a narrative that's easy for them, it's emotionally comfortable to them. We call Trump a Nazi. We never look to define what the word Nazi means. We never actually try to prove the point. We just use the word over and over and over and over and over again, because if you continue to lie, there will be people that will just go along with it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you see, for example, when I talk about Saipan, what happened there, and these Japanese civilians jumping to their death, that may be the end game of a totally autocratic society where you don't get any other news. But think about the insanity and the things that people believe in a free society like the United States. Think about how racism of the identity politics still is a core belief of a major political party. Identity politics that they practice is racism. They judge people by groups and not individuals. You look at that and you say, how the hell can that be in 2025? How can the misogyny of the radical transgender movement, how does that continue even today to be justified in any kind of way? The anti-Semitism, the pro-Hamas. You look at these things that these people believe, and we're talking about in a free society, and you understand that you're not as far away from people believing insane things that will act upon it. And think about here, what they're saying is, all these people around Biden said, no, we're not Senate confirmed. No, we have no authority. Let's just get this guy elected. Basically, we'll just let him lay in bed all day, and we'll make the decisions for him.
Right.
As unelected people, that is absolutely against everything that we believe. And they said to hell with that because they believe Trump is a Nazi.
Right.
Which, of course, he's not.
Right. No, I mean,
doesn't matter.
It's, again, in a world where they thought they have won everything, whether it was the presidency after 2008 and Obama winning. They won social media because they had control over social media forever, for the longest time. They thought they had won everything. Well, we can also get this done with a weekend at Bernie's approach.
Yeah.
And we can decide for ourselves, we're the AOC said it. I'm the boss. I'm the boss. They believe they have that authority. Look at the judge, that judge who ushered a guy out a back door so he could avoid ICE.
Mm-hmm.
She knew the cameras were rolling in her courtroom. She knew they were there. She didn't believe she was doing anything wrong. She has that authority. She has that power. They believe that's how they think. Well, we can do this, and we should do this. We're going to do this. We're going to save the world from Trump. That's Trump derangement syndrome at its highest level, literally at its highest level.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Friday Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Coming up, following the top of the hour, just see that Denmark raising, hey, let's be like Europe. Denmark just raises its retirement age to 70.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. Anybody born after, I think, 1971 or 72 will now collect at age 70.
Yeah. You and I have talked about how whatever the fix is going to be on Social Security here in the next several years, whatever, if they get around to it, if they decide to fix it, otherwise I won't get it. But it will likely be, moving the age thing around. Also, quite possibly a means test. If you, even though you paid into it all your life, working really hard, if you did the right thing and built a real retirement and, and weren't going to rely on Social Security, well, great, you did the right thing because we're going to make sure that if you're of certain means, you're not going to get Social
it'll
Security,
change to a welfare system. Yeah.
And
or it could.
I think that's one of the, possibilities. The cap on contributions is going higher every year. That actually might go away completely. These are all things that they're looking at, I'm sure, including moving the age. I'll be right there at 69 and a half, and they'll go, nope, we're moving it to 80.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Did you see First Lady of France?
Yeah.
And was that a face shove of her husband?
Yeah.
At the plane? On the plane? All right, somebody wrote, they went, odd couple.
I don't know what that is. What's going on there?
When push comes to shove, I mean, that's all.
Well, yeah.
They slowed it down in slow motion. I kept thinking of the bowling.
It's
the
a bad look.
I kept thinking of the bowling ball in the belly. Remember when the cannon shoots the bowling ball? Whatever.
Oh, yeah. And then it's in slow motion.
Yes. I don't know why I thought of that, but
yeah.
His head's there, and all of a sudden his head starts moving back, and all of a sudden you can see the palm of her hand basically in his face.
Yeah. It's
oh my gosh.
It's not a good look. What's going on there? Little rift between the two. Little spat.
It's gotta be tough.
Wow.
Being in the limelight all the time, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, of all things to happen, there have been times when global leaders and their spouses, and it looks like, they're not getting along. They're not holding hands or something as they're walking, Melania decides to ride with J.D. Vance on Air Force Two or something. It's.
Nah, I always go back to Hillary giving Bill a look when they're in a crowd as he is looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
And elsewhere sometimes can be
at Melania. Yeah.
An attractive woman near him.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and she's just got that Hillary look, on her face. The one she always actually has.
I'm not
Maybe we
friendly. I'm not happy.
Exactly.
Stay away from me.
Yeah, right. You know, that brings the question again. I asked this, I don't know, a year or two ago. Does she ever experience joy? I mean, is there anything that ever brings joy to her? I don't know what that would be, after losing to Trump.
Genuine joy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Authentic joy, because if there's somebody who isn't authentic and a real person, as was part of the criticism of where the Democrats are now, but Hillary's not a part of that anymore.
No.
But if there's a person that doesn't come across to me ever as authentic, it's almost as if she's playing a role. It's always been Hillary.
Yeah.
Even though I do believe that early on in the Clinton presidency, she was the push for nationalized health care. She was more the true socialist than he ever was.
Yeah, but I mean, back then we called it Hillary care. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, Obama. Somebody else already had their name in front of the word care before you. But it just makes you wonder, because she always has that look on her face. And I'm like, is there any moment? Is there one moment, something that brings her joy? I guess not. You think it ever came to that? You think she ever did the face shove to Bill? We need some whistleblowers from the Secret Service.
I think it was a groin kick.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
The Fox News. Fox News has it, and it's just a repeat of her hand shoving.
Yeah, right. And just in a cycle. And,
President Macron's face over and over and over and over and over. And then when he realizes the door is open, the face is shoved, he turns, and then he smiles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It wasn't good. And he's walking down the steps. He's walking down the stairs. It doesn't look good. Yeah. Well.
I like that, though.
Macron's office downplayed the interaction. Quote, "It was a moment where the president and his wife were decompressing one last time before the start of a trip by horsing around. It's a moment of complicity." What? It was. Is there something lost in translation? Was this written originally in French? It was all that was needed to give ammunition to the conspiracy theorists. Conspiracy theorists? I don't think we have to get into conspiracies.
Yeah, he wasn't smiling as the palm was in his face, pushing him back.
Right.
He only smiled when he turned to the door and saw there were people there.
I mean, my wife and I will joke every once in a while. I'll be like, whoa, if I say something, like a smart aleck, believe it or not, I do that occasionally. And then I just, I'll kind of lean back like in a defensive, posture and say, don't go all Jackie Chan on me. Right. And then, we kind of joke around like that. It's never come to a face shove.
But I love where it led you.
Huh.
When it led you to Hillary. And
does
anything actually make Hillary genuinely happy?
Well, I have to ask the same of Michelle Obama. Because it just seems like...
And Joy Behar.
And Joy... Ironically, someone named Joy... And supposed to be a comedian. Allegedly, she's a comedian. But she is not filled with joy. But I just think to myself, because say what you will about us and our opinions, and we have our moments of passion. There are things that I get greatly frustrated about.
Me never.
Yeah, that never happens. But we're going to have some fun on this show. I'm going to have fun in life. I don't care who they are. Nobody's going to steal my joy. I have a ton of joy in life. There are great things that bring me joy. Some of the members of my family bring me joy. okay, a few of the members of my family bring me joy. No, I mean, it's like most people. We experience, at some point, we experience joy. That's the great thing about life.
Right.
And I think that this is one of the reasons, in fact, I've always, starting from the beginning when I realized, hey, if you say something funny and people laugh, you bring them a moment of joy. They get that moment of joy. And I love doing that. I love laughter. I love, all that. And then I love the real things that bring you joy in life. And it just seems like there are so many prominent figures who never experience joy.
Or you don't suspect that they do.
Right.
For example, now we know, it used to be before his heart problems, some good fast food would make Bill happy. And other things.
French fries. Yeah, I love French
and other
fries.
things would make him happy.
There were things.
Now I don't know about Barack though. Think about it. They really seem like the least happiest couple in politics ever.
They do, but you know what's interesting? Okay, let's just get into it. We didn't start the rumor, by the way, the whole rift or not between Barack and Michelle Obama. I don't know if there's a rift. I have no idea. Maybe they just, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on.
She hated being in the White House. Remember,
we know that.
Remember how last year?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, we just say, people, stop it. She's not running for president.
Right, but
she's not. And if you paid attention over the years to her and know about her, she hated being in the White House.
Yeah.
She does not want to be in D.C.
Right.
And people were still in. We get the calls. No, it's going to be Michelle. No, it's not, and it wasn't.
Right, and I'll say this: since they haven't been traveling together, he seems more joyful. And I'm not, it's just anecdotal. I could be wrong, but he seems to be smiling a little bit more.
It's not just, it's not, we're not just picking on Democrats, because you can make the case that Tim Walz shows his own unique kind of male joy.
Yeah, he does. Oh, there's a guy who clearly gets joy. I don't know what he gets it from. There's some joy going on there, though. You don't get jazz hands without joy.
Yes, you have to have some kind of joy over something.
Jumping up and down. That's joy. I don't know where it's coming from.
It might have been, these idiots, they actually picked me to run.
Look,
these are
that actually happened. Somebody actually picked me. Woo-hoo.
I got picked.
Oh, take that, dodgeball from third grade. Somebody picked me. But I mean, it's because he got pummeled. But it's one of those, things that because honestly, I think everybody should have. There are plenty of people that have very serious jobs, and I think to myself quite often, caretakers, like professional caretakers. We have some working for family members right now, and I think to myself, well, God bless them, because they work long hours and everything else, and you hope that at some point there's some joy in their life and great satisfaction and happiness that either as a result of the work or something else in their life. But when we look at political figures and we look at the prominent figures that are out there, and so many of them just seem to be so. And it's not just that they're serious. There are people out there that are prominent that are very serious, and you can tell, well, they're all business, right? But you don't sense that they lack joy in their life. And because when you hear them talk enough, when you hear them espouse views and talk about ideas in the political realm, then you're seeing them, you see where their convictions are. You see what drives them quite often. And it makes you just wonder, what is it? What is their goal? What brings them that joy? Hillary Clinton, I'll say this. Hillary Clinton, and since we can say this is bipartisan, Liz Cheney. See, we didn't just make it about the Democrats.
It's not
because she's a Republican, And
in name only.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's
well, let's think about this. Liz Cheney, who you and I have said a couple times, she's so sad. But then
she does.
But then when you add Democrat women, because some of the positions she's taken are liberal now, which are just for Liz Cheney are amazing. But we've talked about some of the liberal women out there and just how
they look angry and miserable.
Yeah,
they just do. They look angry and miserable, and Liz Cheney, from the whole January 6th committee thing on, I don't think she smiled once. And I think to myself, my gosh, how bad could your disdain or hatred be for one guy, Donald Trump, be to where you let it steal all of the joy in your life? Well, that's Trump derangement syndrome right there.
Here's another one. Is Elizabeth Warren ever happy?
No, she's not. No, she's not. No. The answer is no.
Is that just...
To recap, no.
Do they ever generally have a big belly laugh?
Well, and remember the contrived thing where she drank a beer in her kitchen? Yeah, way to go, Senator, standing in front of your $20,000 refrigerator, drinking a beer. That'll put me.
That was really.
That'll put me on the ground with the real people. The working class people. That's a $20,000 fridge that you got the beer out of. This whole contrived take on it.
Oh my gosh, funny stuff.
Because again, what drives you? What drives a person? What motivates a person? And if it's hatred, then there is no joy. If it's disdain and hatred, then there is no room for
if
joy.
You hate the country that you represent.
Yeah. Right.
You're not going to be happy.
Right.
If you're a victim and believe you're a victim, no matter what your status in life or what you acquire, you're still a victim no matter what, no matter how you race through the ranks, you're not going to be a happy person.
Right.
I really think it comes to being a victim and the tone they want to set, because they're also always virtue signaling that I'm a victim and things are horrible and things are down. And I can't smile, because if I smile, it'll show somebody that something may be right in the system that we live in, and we can't have that.
Exactly.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Interesting thing that I saw over the weekend about the big, beautiful bill.
Oh, yeah?
You had Republicans, especially online, even some responding to Elon Musk, and you started seeing codify the cuts. And I even saw, what's her name? The one from the 2020 election, the lawyer from Dallas. You know who I'm talking about?
Sidney Powell?
Yeah, Sidney Powell. She actually was like, same thing. This bill doesn't cut enough.
Wow, I haven't seen anything from her in a long time. Wow.
Yeah, she was on, it was on X over the weekend. I was like, whoa.
All right.
Whoa. And now it's like, okay, the Senate, this is just, again, the headlines, some of the headlines you see, the Senate going to make more cuts than the House would make. And then Trump came out and said, do whatever you want. It's like, okay, it's going to be interesting to see, what happens here. And then it was like, they snuck in a tobacco tax. You saw that one, right? They snuck in a tobacco tax. It's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And so we'll see where it ends up. But I even saw, well, we're going to make a lot of cuts and then send it back to the House again.
Okay, good luck with that.
Like, okay.
Good luck with that.
So it's it'll be interesting to see what happens with the
and what's
the bill overall.
What's the goal to have it to the president's desk by Independence Day, right?
That was the talk. Yeah, they wanted it done by then.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Good luck with that. Again, good luck with that. Because, again, your margins are so slim.
Yeah.
We saw it in the House.
What's going to happen to I just wonder, in the Senate, and I haven't seen anything on this, in the Senate, what's going to happen to the SALT stuff?
Yeah.
Have you seen a push either way?
That's a good question because, we talk about the red districts over in the House, the red districts in blue states over in the House, and that was the concern by some of those in the GOP. But you're talking the Senate, well, they're worried about the entire state. So the GOP is only worried about the red states.
Now, I just found an article in thehill.com on it. We'll have that coming up on the bottom of the hour about what the Senate Republicans are thinking on the SALT.
Okay. Well, and again, it's not just about the blue states. It's also about some in the red states.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it is. That's coming up.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thanks for being here. All right, this came out late last week.
All right.
Senate GOP weighs SALT changes despite big, beautiful bill deal. Senate Republicans are staring down on a collision course with the House as they weigh possible changes to the state and local SALT deduction cap as part of the larger revisions to the party's massive tax bill. House Republicans hailing from high-tax blue states struck a deal with Speaker Mike Johnson to increase the SALT deduction cap to $40,000 from its current $10,000 mark shortly before the full chamber passed the bill. However, their work could all be for naught if the Senate GOP has its way. The conference has no members hailing from SALT states, and many side with President Trump on the issue, despite the party's need to keep them on board in an eventual final vote in the lower chamber. Quote, Senator Kevin Cramer, Republican from North Dakota, there's not one Republican in the United States Senate who gives a blank about SALT. Having said that, what does matter is 218 votes in the House, and we want to be cognizant about that. For much of the last month, the issue has been a vexing one for Johnson and House Republicans as a group of nearly a half dozen SALT members held the keys, intent on reversing what they viewed as a wrong implemented during the 2017 tax cut package. Their current cap was put in place then, but it was set to expire fully at the end of this year without action, giving the SALT members leverage. However, that power is limited to their chamber, as Senate Republicans seem hesitant to give what they view as a bailout for Democratic-led states. When it comes down to cost, it's probably going to get entangled in the larger debate. I hate the SALT policy, said Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina. Tillis, a former Speaker of the House in Raleigh, noted, though, that he's sympathetic to Johnson's plight and recognizes the cap probably has to remain in the bill in some form as it is debated in the coming weeks. What would happen if it went back to the Senate back to the House? They get it. It goes back to the House. They've got to pass it because there's been so much change.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that was going to happen. I just don't know what it looks like when it gets back to them. But that's the question. Ultimately, what did it pass by one vote in the House? And so then you do the math on that. The slightest change could throw that off completely. I really don't have any idea what that's going to look like, because what were they up to? The SALT thing in the House version, 40,000, lifting it to 40?
40,000, and reading here, nonetheless, some members seem intent on putting the upper chamber's imprint on the issue. Sources told The Hill that they expect that the current SALT cap deal to be potentially cut in half by the Senate into the neighborhood of 20,000, a move that would certainly infuriate tri-state Republicans, even though it's 10,000 now.
Right. It would double it from where they are now. But keep in mind, they wanted to raise that. A few of the Republicans in the House wanted to raise it even further than 40.
Wasn't it 124,000?
Yeah, I was going to say 124 for a couple, I think, is what they were going to do.
Well, the whole point is, if you're only going to raise it to 20,000, you're not, because the whole point is we want to get reelected again. If it only goes to 20,000, that doesn't do anything. I don't know if 40,000 does anything because of what they actually wanted it raised to. We were hearing between 70 and 124,000.
Right.
So cutting it to 20,000 probably would infuriate those Republicans. I would expect and certainly hope that we would modify that very generous SALT cap to be a more modest number that recognizes we need moderate Republican votes in the House to pass the bill, but maybe this is a little bit too far for most of our taxpayers to subsidize the bad tax policy in other states. And conservatives, you saw that. I mean, they're livid that the Republicans would do this.
Yeah.
And they're livid at those Republicans that want... Look, one thing that Republicans probably do agree on is tax policy and the relationship between the federal government and state governments. And the problem is when you have these irresponsible states, for example, New York has less population than the state of Florida, yet their taxes are double. Their budget is double.
Yeah. Right.
Is over double what Florida is, and Florida has more people now. And it's over double. And they're like, why should they get a deduction? For all their high income tax and their high property taxes, why should they get a deduction off their federal income tax, where then you have any money that has to be made up, either you're borrowing it from future generations or it has to be paid for by, because if you live in another state that you don't have that amount that you deduct, then you're actually paying more in taxes than people in that state. There's no way you can make that as fair.
Right.
And there's no way that you can convince people that if you wanted to raise it as high as they did, that you're talking about protecting the little guy.
Right. But again, in a country where fewer people are concerned about the national debt, let's get back to it benefits me. It benefits me. It benefits me. We're cherry picking here, and the bigger idea of the rest of the country bailing out these high tax states is lost.
Now, this is interesting. Overall, Senate Republicans are expecting wide rewrites of much of the House's bill, including in some parts to make it compliant with the Byrd rule that the upper chamber must abide by. I think there will be considerable changes in the Senate, said Senator Ted Cruz, pointing out to the possible reprisal of what happened in the 2017 tax cut push. The House passed a good bill. It came into the Senate. We made it substantially better. The Senate Commerce Committee chair added that he expects those changes to occur across the board in the package. Senate GOP leaders will need to make revisions, in part, to keep as much of the caucus together as possible, with some already signaling that they are dissatisfied with the House's product and their level of spending cuts, especially those on the right. When SALT falls into that group remains a question. Senate Republicans also expect Johnson will have a say in the matter as they try to hit the sweet spot on both sides of the Capitol to win the requisite levels of support.
Yeah.
I think most folks in the Senate have said, let the House figure out what it takes to bring these folks on board, and then we'll do our best to honor it, said Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota. If they're comfortable with it, I think that lends a lot of credibility to accepting theirs. It's all got to fit like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Right.
They're talking a ton of rhetoric, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now the Byrd rule, by the way, is a Senate rule that restricts what can be included in reconciliation legislation. Its purpose is to ensure that reconciliation bills, which are intended to enact budget changes through an expedited legislative process, remains focused on the fiscal issues and avoid being used to pass unrelated, non-budgetary provisions.
Mm-hmm.
Which means, what were they talking about might be kicked out. I forgot what they said. Not the cigarette tax cut. There was something else that was in there that they said probably would not make it because it doesn't relate. Because that's where the reconciliation bill rules really come in. Because reconciliation
right.
is the Senate.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what it was. There was something that they said that they put in the bill, and it's like, that probably won't pass because it's non-budgetary.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a long month. In a few days, we'll be into June. And if they're trying to get this to Trump's desk by Independence Day, good luck. Again, you move the slightest thing in the House, if whatever gets back to the House. Well, if there are broad changes, then that 215 to 214, that was the vote. One vote.
Well, here's what I wonder. The Medicaid changes that they want, is that considered budgetary? Because anything that you pass is related to the budget somehow, but what is the rule? What is the legal meaning of the rule that in reconciliation,
right,
which means budgetary? Would
right.
that be raising taxes? Would it be a general cut overall?
Well, I think it would.
Like we're going to reduce.
I think the Medicaid change would be. I think it would be. Yeah. I don't think there's a problem with that. Unless I'm missing something. Because it's about the money, basically the money on Medicaid afforded to states. And so, that would fit. Again, unless I'm missing something. Wow.
Yeah, that's just one of the questions that I have. What does that precisely mean? I mean, they talked about it in the article. Well, the next question would be, how does that apply then?
Right.
To this,
Right.
What might not get through, and I was trying to find out what that was. You had Newsweek do it. A group of Senate Republicans outlined demands to back the big beautiful bill. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin said he is pushing for much deeper spending cuts. We need to be responsible. Our first goal of budget reconciliation should be reduce the deficit. This actually increases it.
Mm-hmm.
You had Republicans control the Senate. We know that 53 to 47. Don't give me background, Newsweek. Just tell me what they say they want.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky said he will not consider supporting the bill unless the increase to the debt ceiling is taken out. Paul called the spending cuts wimpy and anemic, but said he would support the bill even with wimpy and anemic cuts if they weren't going to explode the debt. I've told them if they strip out the debt ceiling, I'll consider even the imperfections, voting for the rest of the bill, but I cannot vote to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. What does that mean? So there is no debt ceiling at all? So you put the pressure on to raise it over a period of months, not decades.
Right.
Or not years.
Right.
I think that's what he was talking about.
I think that's actually, I think that's, and I think he had talked about that before.
Do it every 3 months, whatever you need.
Yeah.
So it's constantly something that comes up which forces you to cut. Right.
Yeah. And not just, boom, this one big raise and let it go for a while. I mean, they're always going to raise it, but there should be, I think Rand Paul's position is, okay, yeah, you're probably right on that, but at least there's conversation about it, and it's a reminder if we have to go back every 3 months or whatever.
Right.
And we can talk about it. And you keep it out there, and you have that conversation every time.
Because I think you raise it $5 trillion, they expect it to last 2 years.
Yeah. Right.
That's what I've read.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And that's what bothered a lot of Republican conservatives. Well, if it's $2 million the first year, you're saying $3 million the second. Well, there's not really a date to it.
Yeah.
It's until until you hit it.
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here. The U.S. Steel deal, we'll get to that here in just a little bit. A lot of talk about higher education. This weekend.
Yeah.
And Harvard and things like that. A article that was written, an op-ed piece, and I went, oh, and it hits here. It is Biden's prostate cancer and the tyranny of the experts. This is Alicia Finley from the Wall Street Journal wrote it. It hits every point that we made the other night.
Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Last week when we were talking about Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis, and we went, okay, what's going on here? And then it came out that, well, I mean, he had it in 2014, but it's not recommended by some medical group out there that you have it after 70. And you and I both went, what the hell are they talking about?
Right.
And so
that's when you would want to. I would think. That's when you would recommend it.
We looked up on it, and then I started talking about, for example, my last colonoscopy, where they said, well, if you're completely free, you won't have to get one for 10 years, and then you're done.
Right.
You won't ever get one again. I go, what are you talking about? This is before. Now, I ended up having a polyp, so I've got to go back in 3 years. But I went, what are you talking about? I go, no, after 10 years. By the time you get to, you'd be around 80, and at 80, we don't recommend them anymore. You can get them if you want, but they're not recommended. And I went, well, if they're not recommended, it means insurance doesn't pay for it.
Right.
And I don't care like that in the colonoscopy, if I didn't have a polyp or not, I want one in 5 years. I don't want one never again.
Right.
Well, why is that? Because my grandfather died of colon cancer at 86.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at it and you say, is it preventable? But the whole thing with the prostate, we were like, what are you talking about? Like, well, most people are in poor health. Well, Alicia Finley, op-ed piece, opinion piece, Wall Street Journal, and said Joe Biden's stage 4 prostate cancer diagnosis raises many questions, not least why a U.S. president with access to the best health care in the world didn't have routine blood screenings that could have caught the disease before it turned deadly. One possible culprit is the excessive deference to so-called experts, many of whom believe older people should not be screened for cancer because they're likely to die in short order anyway. And that's what I was told with the colonoscopy. They went, well, after 80, it would take, if you were clear at 80.
Yeah.
If you were clear at 70, if I was clear, I'm not 70 yet, but if I was 71 and I was completely cleared, well, then it would be 10 years. And then when you get to 81, they figure, well, it's not worth it because you're going to be dead soon anyway. Wait a minute. What are you talking
You've
about?
had a good life. Come on.
Well, and it's fascinating because we talked about who really criticized Biden on it was Ezekiel Emanuel, right?
Yep. Yeah.
An Obama and Biden advisor who want to put government in control of all Americans' health care. Remember, he was called the architect of Obamacare. A Biden spokesperson last week said the former president hadn't received a prostate-specific blood test since 2014 when he was 71 or 72. A high level on that test can signal cancers, though it can also raise false alarms. On a flip side, it doesn't miss many cancers. In 2008, here it is, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force, an independent panel of quote, experts that reviews evidence for preventing screenings and treatment, categorically recommended against screening men 75 or older for prostate cancer. 4 years later, the panel advised against PSA screening in all men. The panel in both instances deduced that men who get a high reading on the test might undergo unnecessary treatments, carrying risks like erectile dysfunction, for cancers that may be slow-growing and unlikely to shorten their lives. And after advanced cancers increased, the panel modified its recommendation in 2018 to suggest physicians discuss risks and benefits of screenings with patients aged 55 to 69 while recommending against screenings for those 70 and older. But why don't the experts trust older patients and their physicians to make informed decisions based on their individual benefits and risks? If that sounds familiar, that's almost word for word what we said on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
If a patient's PSA levels come back high, a doctor may refer him for follow-up tests and possibly a biopsy, which can show how aggressive a cancer is. Based on all the test results, an oncologist can discuss treatment options, including watchful waiting for slow-growth tumors. To be sure, are you ready?
Yeah.
All this testing and treatment is costly. Dr. Emanuel, 67, an oncologist and architect of the Affordable Care Act, has lamented what he views as excessive health care spending on older people. In 2014, we read this article to you, he wrote an essay in The Atlantic titled, Why I Hope I Die at 75.
Uh-huh.
Remember that?
Yep.
Pledging to forego treatments and screenings once he had lived 3/4 of a century. No screening for prostate cancer at any age, he wrote. When a urologist gave me a PSA test, even after I said I wasn't interested and called with the results, I hung up before he could tell me.
Wow.
Are they crazy?
Yes.
Seriously, are they nuts? It's like, wow.
Wow.
Living too long, quote, renders many of us, if not disabled, then faltering and declining, a state that may not be worse than death, but is nonetheless deprived, he said. Half of people 80 and older with functional limitations, a third of people 85 and older with Alzheimer's. Even if we aren't demented, our mental functioning deteriorates as we grow older. His essay was a stronger argument for why Mr. Biden should not have run for president in 2020 at age 77, let alone re-election at 81, than for why older Americans should forego health care. If Dr. Emanuel truly believes people older than 75 are too decrepit to be much use to society, why did he support Mr. Biden's 2020 presidential bid? Dr. Emanuel said after Mr. Biden's disastrous debate performance last summer that Mr. Biden was sharp and perceptive during the 2020 campaign. Yet his cognitive difficulties have long been apparent, and his cancer likely would have been caught earlier had he received his annual PSA testing, as Dr. Emanuel has weighed in against. Wow. The incidence of advanced prostate cancer notably soared after the Preventive Services Task Force recommended against PSA screenings. So what? They were wrong. A 2020 study in the Journal of National Cancer Institute found that advanced cancers rose 5.2% a year between 2010 and 2016 among men 75 and older, with a much sharper increase among white men. Why hasn't the task force, most of whose members were appointed by Mr. Biden's Health and Human Services Secretary, revised its prostate cancer recommendations? Who knows? Though none of its members are oncologists, judging from their biographies on the task force website, their chief focus is advancing diversity and equity. So there you go. They just go through everything here. You know, many of the same experts who expose cancer screenings for seniors also back government price controls on medications. What do they care if old people die sooner because fewer life-saving treatments are developed? And that was, roughly the same time that, when we had the Robert Reich speech, said the problem with health care is young people have to pay more, and old people, we can't be giving them, this expensive treatment in what might be their last few months of life. He didn't say would be. He said that could be. We shouldn't be giving them all this life-saving technology. We should just let old people die.
Right.
My God.
No, it is the mindset. The town hall meeting with Obama. Young lady stands up and talks about how her grandmother got surgery and treatment, I think in her late 90s, mid-90s maybe. And Obama actually said to her, well, maybe next time we just give her an aspirin or whatever he said and let her go home. Well, the treatment extended her life, which was a choice she made, the patient, with her doctor.
Well, it's your should be your individual choices
based on all of the information, not just part of the information or recommendations because, they're old. We don't care. I'm never going to be old, so I don't. It's like Robert Reich when we played that cut years ago, talking at Berkeley. Old people, we're going to let you go home, and die. And we were like, well, you had a much greater amount of applause compared to the young people. You're going to have to pay more. Only a few people applauded at that. Old people, we're going to let you go home and die. Yay! And then we said, well, Robert Reich at one point is going to be old. We know he's kind of always looked old. And now he's old. We wanted to, recently we wanted to bring that up. You still believe that? This is their mindset. When you don't value life from the beginning, Why in the world would you value old life?
Well, he's talking about half the people over, which means half the people are doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Dad's 99, and his cognitive abilities really over the last 5 months, since Christmas, has gone down. Some days he has great days, sometimes he does not. You start thinking about those questions at this point when the cognitive abilities, because of dementia or whatever, start going away. You start wondering, what is his quality of life? I mean, that always comes in. There isn't a person that doesn't think that once you see that, okay, this isn't exactly the person that he was 5 months ago. But my father drove until he was 96, and he was okay driving.
Yeah.
He did a ton of things. He still consulted into his early 90s. He was very active. He had his prostate removed at 86. He was very active through all of that time.
Yeah.
It was just probably, I think Dad's probably stopped doing the lawn at 96. The tractor, get on the tractor. It was an electric start.
Yeah.
He'd ride the tractor, cut the lawn, do all that stuff till he was 96.
Right.
Who the hell is somebody to say? And think about this. When I saw that, nobody should get any prostate screenings when you're 70. Are you out of your freaking minds?
Right.
A PSA test? No, because you might do the wrong thing. Well, that's insane. What do you mean I might do the wrong thing?
Right.
Well, if you see it's a high PSA screening, you might get treatment that's not necessary.
That's
why
the
would
thing.
why would I do that? I get the treatment that's necessary.
Well, I make that choice with the information my doctor gives me. It's not like it's only my choice from that. Ultimately, it is, but it's not something like, well, okay, doctor, you're no longer involved. I get to make that. If I make that choice, it's my life. Again, as long as I get that information. But they're not even giving you that choice. You shouldn't.
Right.
Well, you shouldn't have that choice because you could be wrong.
You can't have this choice because you might make the wrong decision.
Right. By the way, give me those keys.
I have a feeling those are the people that also don't want me to have a gun.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
You shouldn't own property because, you might do something bad with it.
sure own property
like
because
build
somebody might
wealth.
fall on your property and get hurt.
Yeah. Or you could build wealth and become one of those evil people. So
Then
we don't
again,
want you owning property.
I think I should never drive a car then, huh?
You shouldn't be walking on sidewalks. You should sit down. That's all you should do, Doc. Don't sit down. You should stay in your home. Wait, most accidents happen in the home. You should go to a park. It is an insane mentality that, again, became prominent. Why? Because everybody started with this really bizarre premise, that, based on the overall numbers of averaging, which is why, by the way, I've said for a long time, if you went to Capitol Hill, said we have this new form of transportation. But as a result of this new form of transportation, tens of thousands of deaths will occur every year. But people can move around. They'll have their freedom and everything else. It wouldn't be approved today. Cars.
Yeah. Who would approve that?
Right. Oh, my
Too
gosh.
dangerous.
Yeah.
866-98 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, I wouldn't go panning for gold at Kilauea Volcano. Did you see a new study? Shows that volcanic rocks from Hawaii contained gold and other precious metals. When the first results came in, this is German university discovered this. We realized that we had literally struck gold. Our data confirmed the material from the core, including gold and other precious metals, is leaking into the Earth's mantle above. Apparently, 99% of the Earth's gold is buried deep in the Earth's metallic core, far out of humankind's reach. The gold is currently buried about 1,800 miles deep in the core. The discovery of other precious metals show the exact same thing. That it's coming from way, way deep, and it's bringing up gold. See some of the pictures of the volcano?
Yeah.
Kilauea?
Yeah.
Fascinating. Now, they have, the USGS has one of those cameras, a still camera there, and it's funny because when they sit there and say, yep, currently at 800 feet, you're like, wow, this camera must be far away. Because it seems like maybe it's 100 feet. But,
Right.
You look at, that's pretty intense. That's why I said, you know, I should have done better in geology in school. I should have had more of an interest in it when I was young. I can't believe I went geology.
They would have taken us on trips to Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. I would have been much more interested.
Then maybe we had known we were going to be interested.
Just asking us to know all the different types of rocks didn't bring that same kind of excitement.
Yeah, boring.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I saw that story about Hamas doing the old bait and switch.
Yeah.
Hamas claimed yesterday it had been presented with a new U.S. proposal that would see a 70-day ceasefire and the release of 5 live hostages on the first and final days of the truce. A Hamas-tied Palestinian official told Reuters the deal Hamas claimed to have received would have also included a partial withdrawal of Israel from the Gaza Strip. The official said this deal would also include the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners being held by Israel, many serving lengthy prison sentences. Well, the United States came back afterwards, and Special Envoy Woodcock came back and blasted Hamas, saying the terms of the deal he had actually sent to Hamas were very different from their response. Wow.
Yeah.
What I've seen here from Hamas is disappointing and completely unacceptable, he told Axios. He said Israel agreed to the terms of the deal he proposed and that he would offer a path to a permanent ceasefire, and that it would offer a path to a permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office dismissed the Hamas deal as a U.S. proposal on dismissed the Hamas deal as a U.S. proposal on Monday.
Yeah.
No responsible Israeli government would accept what they put out. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
Netanyahu's office insisted the war will only end once Hamas is eradicated, which should be the case.
It's the only way this thing can be handled because of the history of Hamas and how they've handled every approach to Israel, which has been attack after attack after attack after attack. And this is right out of their playbook. What they're asking for is some time to regroup. What they're asking for is let us get our stuff together so we can properly attack Israel again. No. Hamas must be eliminated. And there is no middle ground, that frustrating to hear still. Two-state solution.
Oh.
Neither of the would-be two states want that. Neither. They're not calling for it. You're borrowing something from ages ago that is never going to happen.
That's like saying, how do you improve our football team? Well, you guys need a new goalie.
Yeah, right.
That's what it's like. I mean, it's not even on the same topic.
Right.
It's just, the two-state deal. Well, nobody wants it.
Right.
That's not the game being played.
Nope. It isn't.
You had Kristi Noem over the weekend on Fox News about Iran. I think she was on Fox and Friends. Here's what she had to say about a possible deal.
We discussed Iran and we discussed where Israel's position was, and I also delivered the message on where the president was. And the president will never accept a nuclear-capable Iran. He will never accept them having nuclear weapons and building the capacity to that. The intelligence information that they have and that Israel has and they share with the United States and that we also have and are using for those conversations is critically important. So I think the message to the American people is we have a president that wants peace, but also a president that will not tolerate nuclear Iran capability in the future. They will not be able to get a nuclear weapon, and this president will not allow it. But he also wants to be he wants this Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to be on the same page with him.
And we'll see where that is, especially when it comes to Gaza. Maybe not necessarily Iran, but it all sort of ties in together, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty straight line in terms of funding and support from Iran.
And she also told Fox and Friends that when discussing when this would be, we're not talking weeks or months and years before President Trump will make a decision on what's going to happen with Iran. They've been given a very short time frame, a matter of days.
Yeah.
She did not want to divulge the private messages between the president and Benjamin Netanyahu. There were a couple of stories out there over the weekend, one that they were yelling back and forth at each other, and one that said no, they weren't. They were just having passionate discussions. She said she didn't want to divulge any of the private messages between the president and Netanyahu, but the prime minister's team had a conversation afterwards with us that they don't remember a bilateral meeting that was quite that candid and direct and about how we really felt about the importance of Israel, our support for Israel, but that this negotiation was critically important too. We're on a short time frame here. And, we're not talking weeks and months and years before President Trump will make a decision on what's going to happen to Iran. So, Gaza is one thing, Iran is a separate thing, but they're basically all together.
Yeah.
Because as we know, Iran and their oil money has been supporting the attacks on Israel for a significant period of time from both Hamas and Hezbollah.
And the president's recent trip to the Middle East in lining everything out, basically was setting the table for the rest of the Middle East versus Iran. Basically, you're going to have to make it clear. You're either with us or you're not. Well, and we can go down this path or you can go down the hard path. And he said that a couple of times. I don't know how much of an impact it had, but the table had to be set. Everybody needed to know where the U.S. stands right now.
Well, when you basically are saying no enrichment of anything,
right, in
Iran, you can't present Israel with a better deal than that.
Right.
Now, Gaza would be a separate thing. So if the president is saying, okay, we do this to Iran, and Gaza won't be as much of a worry because the funding won't be there or whatever, I don't know what argument he's made. So give a little bit on Gaza. I don't see that happening. I'm not saying the president's saying that. I'm just saying if you're trying to make a deal, are you tough on one end and not as tough on the end that you can handle in a minute anyway if they get on a line?
Well, I think that I think the situation in Gaza is very clear and it's absolute. And it's as I've been saying in terms of the support from radicals all over the world. Again, after October 7th, immediately the line was drawn. Radicals on one side, everybody else on the other, and you have to decide which you're on. And there can't be any give and take when it comes to Hamas. There can't be. Hamas has to be gone. Eliminated. Full stop. There is no middle ground. There is no peaceful solution that includes the existence of Hamas after all is said and done. Nope. Because Hamas will not give up. This is their mission. Their mission is not going to... They will tell you, we've seen it over and over again. They want to kill all Israelis, all Jews. And they're not going to stop until they get that done.
Even those that agree with them, they want dead.
Yes. Yes.
Which is, I know, insane.
But
it was the same thing when we saw, was it Queers for Hamas? It's like, you can't even get into the amount of delusion just in that label itself.
Right. Right. Well, and everyone talks as if Hamas is a government.
Yeah.
Officials in Gaza say, how many times have we seen that in countless stories by the activist media?
Palestinian government officials say, no, it's Hamas.
No, it's Hamas. And this is, again, we know what their mission is. We know they're not going to stop. There's only one way to stop them. By eliminating Hamas. And that's the only that's the only answer here, period. I'm not saying it happens overnight. I'm not saying war is a good thing, but there is no other answer because you have this ceasefire. You declare a ceasefire and give Hamas room and time.
I think
everybody knows what comes of that. Everybody.
I think sanctions may be coming to. I think the Senate's going to promote sanctions, and I think the president probably would be willing to now.
On Iran?
No, on Russia. I'm sorry. I moved
Russia.
to Russia. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I think so too.
I'm sorry. I'm assuming your mind knows what my mind is thinking.
It's funny when you said Senate, I thought, is he moving on to Russia?
No, yes.
But yes, I think they'll probably move on that. And after the weekend, I just think that's it. It's clear you're not going to get anything out of Russia until you put pressure on them. Yeah. So I don't know that Putin, how he'll respond to that, but he's crazy.
Look, sometimes, we've said it many times, I don't pay attention to what Trump says. I pay attention to what he does. Because many times he just talks spur of the moment. He's just throwing out whatever's coming through his head. It's not written down.
Right.
And when he told reporters, I'm not happy with what Putin is doing, he's killing a lot of people, I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. Wall Street Journal. Mr. Trump may be the only person in the world still surprised by how Mr. Putin is behaving. I don't think he is.
I don't think he is.
I think he's saying, I thought that in the talk here we had a deal now coming up. There's no way that Trump doesn't understand where Putin came from in the KGB and what he's been trying to do over the last 20 years. The CIA has given him all the background on it.
No, I think he knows.
I still believe that's part of the negotiation, saying, give him one more chance, give him one more chance, give him one.
Right.
Till I don't give him any more chances.
Well, if you in public basically portray the scenario, portray yourself as saying, well, I think it could be basically a momentary lapse or something, we were on our way, then maybe that works to get him back to the table. I've been asking all along, what do you give Putin? What motivates Putin? Where do you go? And it really has to be on an economic front. I mean, there has to be greater pressure to carve Russia out as the pariah.
And I'm reading here from Wall Street Journal. Mr. Trump and his advisors fancy themselves steel-eyed realists on foreign policy. No neocon idealism for them. But on Mr. Putin, they are starry-eyed idealists mouthing peace as if they can make it happen by wishing it were so. Trump's being naive and helping Russia continue the killing as long as Mr. Putin wants. Where I would disagree with that is, I know Trump knows who Putin is.
Yeah.
I also think that if he decides to put sanctions on, because of the number of chances he has given Russia and Putin at this point, he builds up more credibility worldwide.
Well, this is
if he agrees and puts sanctions on.
You tried the diplomatic approach at first, and again, it goes back to kind of like North Korea. Look, we did our due diligence here. We went through every measure possible. We even had a meeting with Kim Jong-un. But if we have to do something militarily or otherwise, nobody can say we didn't vet the entire process and go through all those steps up to that point.
And in his first term with the Abraham Accords and other things that he did, I think he's built some credibility on foreign policy.
Yeah.
And on this,
right.
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt to see where it goes. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Why? Our show ends in an hour. And after our show ends, our show becomes our podcast. Magically becomes our podcast. We simply record the show, and then it becomes our podcast. And so if you download our Red Eye Radio app, you can listen to the entire show. And if for some reason you can't listen to one of our great radio stations while the show is live, we stream all 5 hours live on our Red Eye Radio app.
And thank you.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.